This is Between the Lines. Today, we dissect the road less traveled.
Hello, this is Carol from Uruguay again. We continue talking about this book, which is The Road Less Traveled by Dr. Peck. And this chapter today is Escape from Freedom. And we all do escape from resolving our problems from time to time because we are humans. And even Dr. Peck tells a story about he himself being during his residency training and understanding more about psychology and psychiatry when he was doing his residency at a clinic. He could observe, and he also became to resent his colleagues because the other colleagues left earlier, and he was all day long, even at night, working with patients, and because it was part of his training, he was really committed to his job and understanding and learning and that kind of thing. But he was resenting that the other colleagues of him were leaving early, for example, were leaving for parties or to do other things, and he would stay, even though he had a family, he would stay at work doing extra hours and having a lot of patients. But at the time he said, okay, I will talk to my director, the director of the clinic. He said, hey, he explained the situation and said, hey, I am working a lot of hours and my colleagues are leaving early. So his doctor said, yes, you said it correctly. You have a problem. And he said, but I came here for you to help me. And the director said, yes, I understand. But again, I am saying again, you have a problem. So he came and went with this to the director at the same time, and he was getting angry. He said, but I need help. And the director said, yes, you need help, but you have a problem. You have to solve it. And he walked away. So Dr. Peck, these were his first or early years in the profession. He was really pissed. And he walked away from the director's office and he was mad at him. He explains for at least 3 months, thinking that this director was the one having character disorders. He should have helped him and a lot of things, blaming the director, right? Until he realized, oh, I have a problem. I have to solve this somehow. And it is within my choice to decide if I want to continue working extra hours or if I want to leave early like the rest of my colleagues. So when he realized about that, he made a conscious decision to stay doing the same things that he was doing right now. He wanted to have these extra hours because he learned a lot more from his patients, from these long hours of work. So he was gaining a lot of training, a lot of wisdom, a lot of understanding. So he decided to continue like that. And when he realized about that, when he realized he was the one to decide what to do, that is when he stopped resenting the other students for leaving early, because it was his choice to stay and work and keep on learning more than the others. And all of us have these kind of situations where we blame the others. I know I do, and I have had kind of the same thing at work, like Dr. Peck's. But it was my choice, right, to continue working long hours, to say yes to every opportunity that will come. And sometimes it was because I was curious and I wanted to learn more, so that was valid. But I was still blaming others for they make me do these long hours of work, they are making me do this kind of thing. But it was in my decision to let that keep being that way. So when I realized that, I had the option of letting go the job, moving into another place, or talking to my boss and saying, I don't want to work those many hours just cause, or I don't know. You have a choice and you have to follow that choice by taking action. And that is exactly what we are talking here about responsibility. This continues from the chapter of responsibility. Because when you accept that the problem, or if it's not a problem, we can call it a conflict, or we could call it a situation if you want to lighten it up. But it's something that you have to decide. You have to either accept the situation and consciously accept it and say, okay, I will continue because I don't have any other choice possible, or this is the best choice I have right now in order to continue. But you have to be the one deciding for that. So in this case, as Dr. Peck was saying, he tried to delegate his own responsibility of choice into his director. So he was blaming the other person for not being able to help or not being able to decide. So you have to take responsibility for your own decisions. And in this case, Dr. Peck was blaming his director because of he thought that he was the one in charge, so he had to help him, he had to solve the problems, and he was blaming him for not doing so, when the problem was really, or the responsibility for this situation was really lying on Dr. Peck's, and he had to decide whether to continue doing the things that he did or take another action. So yeah, that's the thing. And he goes to mention something in this book which I'm not quite okay. Let me explain this. He mentions the book Escape from Freedom, which is actually then the very name of this chapter, but it's also the name of a book written by Dr. Erich Fromm. You know, the one that survived the Holocaust and has several books about this. And he went to study why we sometimes decide to delegate our responsibility into, in this case, he talked about the Holocaust. Thousands of people, we are delegating our responsibility, and we are escaping somehow from freedom by blaming others and delegating them the responsibility of the things they are doing on us, for example, we could say. But however, I want to make a parenthesis here because I haven't read that other book, Escape from Freedom. And what the doctor mentions here, it's, for me at least, it wasn't really clear on what he was saying. I will put the phrase right here. And he says that Dr. Fromm studied Nazism and authoritarianism, and he said that millions of people are avoiding the pain of taking responsibility by escaping from freedom. This is like, if you delegate responsibility, you're escaping from freedom. However, I don't know, again, I haven't read the book, but I don't know if I fully agree, at least from what I understand in a second language, about this, because I don't think the people that went in the Holocaust, this applies for them. I don't know, or people that have been, you can say that word now, have been treated badly, we could say, from dictatorships and that kind of thing, is their responsibility. I don't quite agree with that in general, because I think it may be a sensitive topic, but this is what the book says. Maybe he meant other things that I didn't really or fully understood. So I wanted to make that parenthesis. I think it's not that simple, actually. But yes, I can say that, on the other hand, I could put it in the other way. When you take responsibility, you are also taking like the freedom for you. And this isn't mentioned right here in this chapter. But if you are taking the responsibility, you are no longer a victim, because you can do something in order to escape from the situation and become free from the situation, or at least you decide, and it's in your charge and it's your responsibility again. And of course, there are other cases like if you are children or if you have children, all the responsibility for children are part of the parents' lives. So children are not really responsible for what they live during their infancy. And in that case, if you are a child, you have limited options. You have to follow what adults or the people that are taking care of you or that are with you, you have to follow them in order to keep on living, right? So another thing that the doctor says in this chapter, and I agree with that, is that when you take responsibility, you have a choice now to do something or not, to decide upon something or not, and also understand that maybe lesser, different grades of consequences, some painful, some other might not be painful, but just the act of taking this responsibility is kind of painful because you have to choose between different options. And maybe, well, as humans, sometimes we want it all, and we can't have all sometimes. So you have to decide what will be your priority to pursue in the moment, or what will be the thing that you want to accomplish for now and decide to let go of the other things, right? And another thing that I think it's super, super important to talk about is that, again, this happens for all of us. We all avoid sometimes, somehow or another, taking responsibility because it is painful, as we were saying, and also it doesn't have to do with our intelligence, because there are super intelligent or successful people that have also the very same problem that the rest of us. And it's not because we are stupid or idiots, he actually says, the doctor, but it's because we haven't been taught how to take responsibility or how to solve our problems, and we don't know how to function in these kind of situations. So you will see throughout the book that the doctor says that we go to therapy when we are hopeless, when we don't know what else to do, we go to therapy. But even if you do go to therapy, if you're not willing to learn and understand where lies your responsibility, you will never be free. And you will be, he says, condemned to being a victim all your life. And this is really interesting because I know some people, for example, that go to therapy or have gone for 10 years or more, and you hear them say, oh, my therapist told me to do this and that. And I always found that kind of interesting, I could say the least, because I don't think your therapist has to be the one telling you what to do. The idea is for you to learn how to decide on yourself, how you should take responsibility, or how could you take responsibility for the things that you need to do. So I think that that's like at least for me, it's like a red flag, we could say, for paying attention and saying, okay, if I'm doing what my therapist says, where's my own criteria developing? How is that going on? So, but that's just me, I don't know. But I think that you have to learn, as the doctor say, how to take responsibility in order to be really free from your therapist and free for yourself in life. So that's the main idea of this chapter that I wanted to tell you about, and I hope you like it. And if you have some comment or some experience about how you have undergone therapy, or have maybe you're escaping from freedom right now, or have in the past, and what did you learn from that, it's really useful for everyone here to also learn more from you, and we can comment on that if you want. So I hope you had a great time with this chapter, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Stay tuned for Ulua's next episode.